everyone. I'm so delighted and thankful that you turned up today. It takes a huge amount of courage to recognise when we are lost or not working to our best standards, particularly when we're feeling unmotivated or don't have the willpower to do so. Each of us wants something better for ourselves, and the life that we want and the business you want and the relationships you deserve will come when you become a better version of who you are today. The 7 steps that I'm going to share with you are my own secrets that I utilised during the darkest days of my life. And I'm going to share them with you right now because of the world we're all living in. I'm Catherine Hurt. I'm the recent founder of Crushing Through, and I work with women of all ages and background, overcome their fears, transform their mindset to get exactly what they want out of life, excel in the business that they've created, and the relationships where they're happy and they're thriving. I'm not a therapist, I'm you. 10, 12 years ago, my life was incredibly different. I was married to a narcissist, a drug addict. Our 2 young children were both under 3, and my son was incredibly poorly. We were in and out of hospital for months awaiting diagnosis on what was his epilepsy. I was working 80 hours a week, senior manager position in real estate in the city. I had a huge amount of responsibility and nobody knew what was going on at home, and I felt incredible shame. Life was really difficult and I was stressed and I was anxious. I'd put on an additional 5 stone. I was smoking much heavier than what I did, and wine became my new best friend when the children weren't at home or went asleep at night. The reason I'm going to share these steps now is, as I said, this was created for me at a time when I was at my lowest, and I made my transition when I had no self-esteem, I lacked self-confidence, I had no belief in myself, and I just thought I was worth nothing to nobody. And the life that we're leading right now, our days are incredibly dark. We are struggling through our loneliness, we are feeling vulnerable and overwhelmed, we're stressed, we've got fears, we're not sure about our jobs that we're on furlough for, our children's education is a mess, we don't know what's happening, and or we are bored, we've got too much time on our hands, and the thoughts we're having are very dark and they're not healthy. And I want to say to you that when I took these steps myself and the transition I took, I went from being in a very dark place to eventually being the voice of Business PLC during times of uncertainty, on the BBC, talking in front of European news channels, working on radio stations, writing articles for The Guardian and other papers across Europe. I supported young and do support businesses and entrepreneurs now create sales and marketing strategies and execute better value propositions, streamline their workflows, increase their profit and streamline their cash flow. I work with women overcome their mindset of insignificance until they realise how much they matter and that they're taking the world on in just wonderful ways. But most importantly, me and my children now have a life which is full of love and closeness and safety. And all of that is down to the steps that I'm about to share with you right now. So these 7 steps I'm going to go through them interactively with you online. What you've got in front of you is a 1-pager. It's a new piece of technology, and it allows you to type in as we go, so you can come back to it later when you've got more time. But very quickly, let's talk them through. So secret number 1 is awareness. Now, in order to change anything, we have to be aware of what is going on. Otherwise, we will continue to drift. Our head is bowed with dark thoughts and uncertainty, and we're just not sure where we're going. Well, in this scenario of what we're discussing, which is bad habits, I want you to write down the bad habits that you have created for yourself during COVID or prior to COVID that is preventing you from moving forward or being the person you want to be. So a bad habit that I picked back up in November was overeating. I found that I love chocolate again, binging on Netflix, I would be reading fictional books rather than reading biographies that were going to teach me and educate and build on my own personal development. So you write in there, it's nice and simple, and then after you've written your list, you need to decide which of those are the ones that are causing you the most upset right now. So mine was chocolate and takeaways, or let's just say for all food, because it wasn't healthy food. And so that would be what affected my personal life. And in my professional life, I was following social media, but nothing that was actually bringing me growth. So the next thing that I want us to do is understand what secret number 2 is all about, and that's acknowledgement. And what I mean by acknowledgement is understanding the emotional triggers that ultimately cause us to behave the way we do and create the habits we have. So for example, the emotions that I would be going or was going through again back in November, as I was very depressed and I was grieving. The anniversary of my mum's death was coming up. I was very lonely. And I felt isolated. And then what you need to do is score them as into what feeling you have the most. So where does depression sit? Well, that was very high, so I'm going to sort of stick that as an 8. Grieving was a period of time. You're grieving every day, aren't you? But I was grieving for a period of time, so I'm putting that down as a 6. Lonely, I'm going to put as a 6, and isolation is an 8. And so once I've put those, what that means is that I want to be able to consciously become aware when I'm feeling that way. And you can't do all of this at once. You just focus on the one that you're feeling the most. And if you need help with describing words, you can see that in this box below. Okay. Now, the next secret we're going to go over is action. Now, it's all very well us knowing what emotions we're feeling, what behaviours we have, but what's important is taking action to change that. Now, as I said, I did that. I took action whilst I was at my lowest, whilst I was depressed, whilst I was anxious, whilst I was scared and in fear of my life. I took action during that time. And how did I do that? Well, the way in which I did that is I had to understand or recognise an emotion that was much more powerful than the emotion of fear. And we call that your why. Why are you doing that? And the intent has to be so strong that it doesn't succumb to things like fear. And my why was my children. So just to explain how deep this needs to go for you, and while you might want to work on this when we're finished, is when in the depth of my despair, I sat on my sofa in the front room and the children were playing on a blanket, and I watched them in their innocence and their fragility and their vulnerability, and I could see their unconditional love. Here I was, an absolute mess, feeling disgusting, looking disgusting, and they just loved me anyway. And I burst into tears, and they run up to me and give me a huge cuddle, and it was within that moment and that power that I recognised that I was not doing enough for them. I had to get them out of this situation. I had to be laughing with them. I had to show them the joy of life. And I had to improve my mindset and get myself to the best version I could be so that I could help them. And any time I felt that I was going to struggle, or when days become really, really hard, I would zone in on that feeling and zone in on how they're my why and my emotion, and it just got me through daily. Because making a transition is going to take hard work, and you've got to commit to yourself that you can do it. You've got to believe in your courage. Let's move on to secret number 4. Secret number 4 is about momentum, and not just building momentum, but doing something so that you're no longer having to think about it. And what do we do every day that we don't have to think about? Well, we get out of bed and we brush our teeth. We make our way downstairs. If you're like me, you go straight to the kettle and make a coffee. You then have your children that want breakfast. You get dressed. You get my point. We see these as daily chores, but they're not. They're habits, and we just do them automatically. And we need to start doing them with some of the good habits we want to create for ourselves. And in order to do that, we need to start writing them down. Now, you may already have planners. You may not. Excuse me, let's go back in. You can see that this is being recorded live, so I want to show you as we go. Now, you may have a planner or you may not, and if you don't, you are more than welcome to use the one that I have created for you. It's free, you can download it just here, and what I've done is just done a quick snapshot with some examples of little things that I can do to make changes that are not scary, and that I'm only moving the needle 1 to 5%. Because if we're taking on a mountain, we're not going to achieve it. We've got to break the steps down really small so that they don't become scary and that we can do them. My example here is overeating. When I wanted to lose weight and the 5 stone that I needed to strip away, I had to, instead of thinking about the 5 stone and the mountain, I focused on what could I do today. And that day when I ate breakfast, I could remove the processed meat. Did I find it scary to eat one meal with no sausages on it? And the answer was no. Could I do that? Yes, I could. Would I find it scary to replace a Diet Coke with 1 glass of water a day? No. Could I do that? Yes. So I was moving at a pace in which it wasn't overwhelming, that I could achieve and that I can measure my result. And then after a while, I would make my lunch and just go for water. It became autopilot, and that's what we need to do. And you need to consistently do the behaviour until it's on autopilot, however long that takes you. Some, it can be a very quick process, some it can be a bit longer, but you must stick at it. And within mine, I've got a tick a box, what you do and where you achieve, what goal you set for yourself and what you've done. And then you just look at that on a weekly basis when we get to step number 5, and that is analysis. It's incredibly important that we analyse and evaluate how we're doing and that we're checking in with ourselves. And I recommend that each of you buy or get a journal. If you haven't got a journal, there is one on my website that you can check out. But if you have a journal, you'll understand the importance of private space in which you write in. Okay, so here are the steps that you need to create a journal, and then I will tell you why you need to do that. So make sure it's in a private place. Commit to writing in it every day or at least 4 times. Make that another great habit that you do for yourself. Give yourself time to be honest and constructive. It's very private. The only person you're talking to is yourself. And discuss with yourself how you're feeling, what your thoughts are, what challenges you have, what struggles you have, and how you're going to overcome them. Is your why strong enough? There's no sort of direction on how you need to structure that, because it's very personal to you. It's your journey and it's for your eyes only. But once you recognise it and you can evaluate it and process it, it's only then that you can and should reward yourself for the efforts that you've made. But also adapt with the challenges that you've got and go back over from step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, until you're finding that you're building this momentum and evaluating things in a positive way. Okay, secret number 6 is appreciation. Now, this is, for me, literally you're just flipping things on their head. It's an easy way to put it. At the moment, one thing I find is many people is like, God, the days are dragging, there's so much time that I'm stuck in lockdown, and looking at it in a very negative way. Another one that I find is, the children always being there, not being at school, not being this, and the arguments. So whatever your frustrations are, your peeves, shall we say, I want you to put them here and learn how to be grateful for them. And mine is definitely time. So instead of looking time as an issue as I did, and I'd be bored on a weekend and I'd binge on Netflix, I would think, Catherine, you want to launch Crushing Through. You want to help more women become the best version of themselves. You need to build your own strategy in which to get your message out there. Now, you've got 90 days of total lockdown. How are you utilising your time? This is a race against the clock. Get on with it. And so time become a pressure point, a panic point, and it excites me to get things done. The children, yes, the children are working home from school, and there are times when we are at clashes and loggerheads and the kids are arguing. But also I'm incredibly grateful for the extra time that I have with them to learn about their personalities and their fears and their education and what they're doing. It's a time that we won't get back. So be grateful for them to be there and find a way in which to appreciate that more. And the other thing that I am incredibly thankful for is the one thing that many women complained about prior to COVID, and that is what we call me time. I wish I just had time for a bath with no interruption. I wish I just had time for X. I wish I had time just to think. Well, you've got plenty of me time right now, and it's how you utilise that. So if it's thinking time that you require, you have that thinking time where you use it positively. It's not a put down session. Your inner villain's always going to be there, but it's time to be thankful. I've got me time. Now I can focus on having an uninterrupted bath while the children are doing a Zoom call. If that isn't what works for you, find the thing that works for you. But be appreciative of the things that frustrate you. It will change the way you see lots of things. And finally, accountability. In order for things to be successful, or for you to commit and stick to your plan, it's always said that you should find an accountability partner. Somebody that you know that you can trust, somebody that is just listening to you, that's on your side. Do not go to a friend or a family member who's highly opinionated, that will judge you, or is too self-absorbed. We love those people. They are our friends and our family, but the person that you want to trust right now, not with your journal, because that is private to you, but with your plan. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm going to do about it. And just check in with them so that you're accountable. The success rate of achieving what you want to increases by about 70%, I think it is, if you find an accountability partner. Who is your raving fan? Now, this very quickly, I want to share with you. I've opened a new Facebook group for any of you that want to use me and that community as your raving fan. I'm here to support you and help you and mentor you through this process with little tips and resources and free advice on how to help you improve your habits. And you can find it at Crushing Through. It's recent and it is new, so please don't feel worried if you're the first one in there, or if you've got something to say, because you've got more of my time in to help you on your journey. But I want to see as many of you in there as that we can, so we can support and help each other. You know, that's not a place for shame. It is a place of security and safety where we can be ourselves, recognise where we are, and support each other to get to the next level. And if you're not using that platform in order to, as your accountability partner, I ask one thing. If you could kindly let me know about your own journey and how you're getting on. I would be thrilled to hear the stories of how you're improving yourself on a daily basis, crushing through any of your bad habits and getting the results that you want for your life. Finally, I just want to talk to you. I'm just seeing a quote on the other side, which is really important to me and resonated with me. And I hope that it helps with you. And it's from Marianne Wilson. And she says, the deepest fear is not that any of us are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's actually our light and not our darkness that most frightens us. Please keep that with you at any time you're feeling dark. Focus on what you're good at and go and crush through. My name's Catherine. Good luck, and I hope to see you in the Facebook community.